Alrighty, welcome back to Beyond the Campfire with your host, Steven and Will. We are grabbing our swim trunks, we are grabbing our compasses because we are going to the Bermuda Triangle. Will, tell
Yes.
us, tell us about it.
Well, mateys, as we sail into the unknown, we might not come back. The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle. Isn't that spooky? Devil's Triangle. I feel like there should be like some lightning happening behind my window when I say Devil's Triangle, and just
I know, right? Yeah. Well, I'm not
a place of mystery where things go in, but sometimes they don't come back.
gonna. Dude, I remember hearing about the Bermuda Triangle in like second grade, and they're just like, yeah, people just get lost there sometimes and they never come back. And you know, 9-year-old me was like, "What the heck?" Or however old I
Well,
was. Um,
what's
second.
the so what's really spooky about the triangle that I'm fixing to tell you? So it is known as the Bermuda Triangle, sometimes called the Devil's Triangle, where there's a lot of mysteries where some things have gone into the triangle and some things do not come back.
Mhm.
Now it's not always a guarantee that you're going to go in the triangle and you're going to disappear, because I know like some cruise ships still pass through parts of the triangle, like some Carnival cruises I think do. Some there's cruises that go from like Fort Lauderdale or Jacksonville and they go down into the Bahamas. They sometimes pass through the triangle, or they
Okay.
are in the triangle sometimes, because the triangle runs. There's 3 points for the triangle. Okay, point one is Miami. Point two is Bermuda, which is owned by the UK, and then the third point is San Juan. So you take those 3 points and you get like an isosceles triangle. Which I think that's the triangle that all three sides are the same because due to the curvature of the Earth.
Right.
So that's where the triangle lays. So everything in within those 3 points, that's the Bermuda Triangle. So there are, according to research that I did, you want to take a guess how many ships and planes have disappeared over the years due to the triangle?
Over the years, I don't know. Let's ballpark 100, 200 something.
A little lower. It's actually 50 ships and 20 airplanes are said to have mysteriously disappeared.
Okay, gotcha. Which is still pretty high, but
Yeah.
yeah, especially considering the size of the location, it's just really weird that I mean, you have ships and stuff go missing. I don't want to say all the time, but relatively with some consistency. But yeah, for that many to go missing in one area, definitely something suspicious is going on over there. So
Yes, and the crazy thing is, we'll learn. I mean, so the mysteries that I have covered for us, we'll get to those in just a second. I'm actually going to talk about some of the reasons why some people believe the triangle acts the way the triangle does, and then we'll lead that into the mysteries, because I'm not going to cover 50 ships and 20 airplanes and tell you about which ones disappeared and which ones didn't.
yeah,
I
it is
chose
a seven
out of
hour
those.
podcast.
Yeah, we'd
Oh,
be here. We'd be here till like you guys would watch the sunrise behind me. We'd be here that long. So I'm going to cover a couple of like the most famous ones. And then as we go through each one, we'll kind of debunk or say whether or not we believe what could have happened. And I've got a list here. Like I said, I'm going to start with causes of the triangle, what people think causes things to go missing in the triangle. And then we'll go into the disappearances, because some of the theories do play into possibly what happened to some people in the triangle. So the first theory is that it's a time vortex. So Albert Einstein,
good old Al.
good Al, trying to think of the word I want to say, proposed, that's the word, that the curve of space could cause light to bend through it. So with this theory, some people guess and say that possibly at the triangle, time is loose enough to pass through, or that there could be
Okay,
wormholes that you could pass through to pass through time. And
completely localized
that's,
within the Bermuda Triangle area,
yeah.
or what?
Now we don't know what would cause the time to be diluted the way it would, or what would cause you to be able to slip through time so well there. That is one of the theories, though.
Yeah,
Which, I mean, the Earth is really mysterious, so there's no telling what could. Um, so the next theory I have is our favorite one:
okay.
aliens.
Alien, of course, of course.
People believe that the Bermuda Triangle could potentially be a portal to a third dimension.
And that's where the aliens are involved.
Yes, that they built the portal so that they could travel to the third dimension to then do space travel.
Okay, gotcha. And I mean, like, hey, classic alien literature and media and whatever has UFOs coming and dragging people out. And, I mean, hey, when you have this many ships going away, it's just like, hey, maybe you have a UFO coming down and piping people up. So,
Yeah. Or maybe these planes or these ships are disappearing through a portal and going into the third dimension. No aliens are even involved. It's just alien tech that got left behind.
mm. Have
Okay.
there been weird stuff found in? I know a few weeks ago we talked about the Black Knight satellite. Um, so has there been like weird stuff found in the Bermuda Triangle?
I was not able to really look. I tried looking into it, and there were the show Ancient Aliens.
Oh yeah.
There were some episodes like on the Bermuda Triangle. I'm pretty sure, like some of those alien history shows that were talking about the triangle and aliens. I tried actually looking up to see if there was any stories about UFOs. I couldn't really find anything, although a lot of people do mention that aliens. That is one of the running theories, is that there was some aliens are involved. And I mean, there probably are some articles if I had dug deeper, but from what I was able to discover and read, there are possibly some connections to aliens, but nothing points to, like, the stories I have don't really point to. Well, there might be one, don't know, but some of the other stories, it's just like they just disappeared, and there's no telling whether or not aliens were involved. That's just one of the guesses.
You know what I think caused all those ships to go disappearing?
What?
The not deer.
You're bringing her back because Haley mentioned her earlier in the group chat.
Hey, I it's one of my favorite creatures. The not deer. So had to mention
I thought you
that.
two broke up.
Oh my goodness. Anyway,
Anyways,
not deer is an alien.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. We still got to do the Skinwalker episode at some point because it's kind of related to the not deer, but
Who knows? Maybe that's our 6-month special.
maybe. I don't
Mm.
know. So, anyway, okay. So, Bermuda Triangle, obviously, yeah, a lot's gone missing. So far we have aliens, we have
Time vortex.
time vortex. Um, Off topic again, but did you, Albert Einstein in Oppenheimer?
Mm-hmm.
He he was kind of like, I don't know, whenever he showed up I would just get like a little bit happy. I just like, oh, it's like Albert Einstein, and I get like excited. I'm like, Albert Einstein's popping up on stage, he's like smiling and just being himself. And when you mentioned him just now, and I was just like, oh, Albert Einstein, like I got that same feeling that I got when you and me were watching Oppenheimer in theaters and we saw Albert
Albert
Einstein.
Einstein.
Yeah,
Steve was
so
like, "That's my bro. That's my homie."
that's my homie. Yeah, I'm a nerdy dude. I'll fully embrace it. Now I'm not quite scientific nerdy. I'm more historic nerdy. But yeah, I don't know. I just I got that Albert Einstein tingly when you mentioned him. So anyway,
Well,
all right,
we
go
had
ahead.
some fun theories. Time vortex, aliens.
Yeah.
Some Christians believe that it is a portal to hell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I literally wrote down. I didn't put much for it. I just wrote highway to hell.
That must have been the Highway to Hell, huh? Not to be confused with Highway to
Hell
Heaven.
by AC/DC. Great song.
Or oh yeah, ACDC. Now I'm mixing
You
up
know,
things.
you
So,
know, you know, there is a theory we might cover. Well, actually, we probably won't cover that. After the guy released the song "Highway to Hell,"
mm.
the lead singer actually died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
God struck him down or something. Is that
maybe,
what the
maybe,
fundamentalist Christians say? Yeah. So
maybe.
okay,
Um,
well, straight portal to hell. Okay. Not the
no,
weirdest thing. Fundamentalist Christians have said they also thought Pokemon were demons in the '90s. So there's also that.
dude, I watched the South Park episode about Pokemon. It was really hilarious.
Mm. We might have to
The-
put up a picture of that or something. So
well, okay, it
need
wasn't
my
really like
pictures.
Pokemon. It wasn't Pokemon. It was like, a knockoff name. But the
Oh,
whole thought was like
it's South
with
Park.
the episode in South Park was that the Japanese had marketed so well that they were using their promotional content to have the kids buy the toys and fall in love with it. And then when they did, they started their whole plan was for the the kids to be like hypnotized almost to go bomb Pearl Harbor.
What? I need to go watch that episode. What the heck?
I have to find it, figure out
Dude,
which
I'm so
episode it
glad I didn't
was.
spit out my water. I nearly did.
I
That was
saw you drink it, and I was like, he's going to do it. Okay, off topic from hell. Our next theory of what could be happening in the triangle is actually related to Atlantis.
oh, okay.
So the thought that I had when I saw this about Atlantis is that there's a possibility that there could be ancient tech down under the water that could be causing interferences within the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
The theory goes in 1968. I have crap handwriting, but I think it's Mansa Valores.
Okay.
He discovered a road. It is called the Bimini. So the Bimini Road,
Benini.
maybe
Benene.
Benene,
Benene.
the Bimini Road,
Okay. Benini.
and it was a bunch of these stones laid out off this island, and it
Mm.
kind of looked like a Roman road. Like the Roman roads had all the like the bricks. So some
Right.
people said it was either a wall or it could have been a road, and it could be connected to Atlantis. And the reason why people believe this is because I'd have to look again to figure out the guy's name. There's a guy who was a psychic, and he had said that Atlantis would be, or something about Atlantis would be discovered in 1968. And then 1968, this guy discovers this road. So
Right.
that's why people think that there's the possibility that Atlantis is somewhere in the triangle.
Okay. And I mean, hey, if you do have a ancient civilization of sea people or technology or whatsoever, again, it makes sense why so many planes and ships are going missing over there. So
Yeah. And now some people try to say that it's just a natural formation, but you know what? It's a road. Anyways, now we're going to go on to some of the less well, actually, I'll do this one and then I'll get into some of the more boring theories that could be very probable. Some people
but
theorize that there was a
I will
comet.
probably go ahead.
Huh? Some people theorize that there was a comet that crashed in the triangle 11,000 years ago, and that the comet has caused electromagnetic problems that could stall out planes, sink ships, and everything like that.
Okay.
So that's the last kind of cool theory, like, cool, comet. The next few theories are very, very boring. Well, actually, this one, it might be boring, but I can make it funny. Okay.
Okay.
You ready to know why the triangle is the way the triangle is according to this theory?
Why is it?
The Earth farts.
I. Oh, okay. Okay. Who
See,
came up
I
with that?
could have worded it. I could have worded it completely different. It's just saying that methane gas buildup.
Ah, I see. So it kind of like when you and me are eating burritos at Taco Bell and we need to release the Earth is having a similar thing going on.
Yes, yes. So the
Taco
theory
Bell does not
goes,
want yet. Hopefully one day they will.
yeah.
But
So the theory about the methane gas buildup is that it will release these bubbles into the ocean, and when this gas is released, ships can lose buoyancy and actually sink. And then planes, like if it, bubbles up to the surface, like when you fart in a tub, and then the bubbles rise up, and then they can kind of pop on the surface. That can release the gas into the atmosphere, which then can interfere with planes and cause the engines to stall out.
man, who knew farts could be so powerful?
I hate that I had to use like when you fart in a tub analogy.
Have you not farted in the tub before?
I have, but that was the best way I could think of describing bubbles on the surface and then
That's
bursting.
fair, man. That's fair. So
If you haven't tuned away now, I'm going to get into some more two last probable causes for everything happening that do not involve aliens, ancient tech, and farts. One theory is the Gulf current. So, the Gulf current kind of curves up the East Coast and it goes up there towards Greenland. And so the theory goes that if these planes have had to make water landings, when they land on the water, if they have not sunk, the current can carry that plane way up the coast further than where they were at. The only problem I have with this theory, and when we get to some of the ships, is for some of the ship disappearances I have, this does not explain what, like, the ships disappearing. And then the last theory is that there just could be some sort of human error involved in all of these that could cause these disappearances.
Come on, that one's boring even for me, and I'm I'm the
See,
boring one between the two of
see,
us.
but as we
You
read
know?
these theories, you're going to start realizing that a lot of these, there's no way this was human error, or if
Yeah.
it was human error, we don't know. Um,
But here's the thing,
so
an error, like all of them doing it in the same area, I don't know. Even I find that a bit far fetched. There's got to be something more mystical going on.
yeah, so these are not in timeline order. Okay, these are kind of all scattered about, but
Okay,
these are now. So now that you've got these ideas built up here of what could be causing, you know, the supernatural happenings in the triangle, these are some of the famous disappearings upon my research. Starting off with Flight 19. Have you ever heard of Flight 19?
Flight 19. It sounds familiar. Yeah.
Okay. So Flight 19 was a group of 5 US Navy TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. They disappeared December 5th of 1945. The
Okay.
they were doing a training run. And so the training path was supposed to be, they were going to fly due east of Fort Lauderdale, Florida for about 141 miles. Then they're going to fly north for 73 miles, then back 140 miles, and then land back in Florida.
Okay.
Somewhere along that trip, they were over the triangle and they disappeared.
Mm.
Now, some things that I found claim that the last thing the people said was that the ocean looked green before they disappeared. And that's why some people go into the alien portal theory that they
Right.
were entering into the third dimension. And the reason why is that I can't think of the guy's name. There's the movie, like a third encounter from the, like, oh, I'm trying to think of what it was called. There's a movie out there. I'd have to look it up. Encounter of the Third Kind, I think is what it is.
Okay.
And it shows the opening scene is these people finding the planes in the desert of Africa. And then they find them on a spaceship. So Flight 19, they disappear. And you're like, okay, cool, Flight 19, that's it. We got another plane that disappeared the same day.
Oh.
So Flight 19 disappeared. And then they sent out a 13-man PBM Mariner West to look for the 5 bombers. And then that plane disappeared the same day. Now
Going on that day.
with the PBM, we kind of have an idea. The 13-man PBM that went looking for Flight 19, we kind of have an idea of what could have happened to them, because when Flight 19 took off, it was a pretty clear day. So that we don't know what happened with Flight 19. But later that evening, when the PBM was looking for them, it happened to be stormy, and it had a lot of fuel in it because there's going to be doing an extensive search for this plane. And now these PBMs were known to have a fault in them to where during horrific flying conditions, sometimes hoses could come loose and leak gas vapors. And the reason why we believe this is because some eyewitness accounts claim that they saw an explosion in the sky and then oil streaks on the water.
Okay.
However, nothing has ever been recovered of Flight 19 or the PBM Mariner. They have just disappeared.
That is really freaky. Yeah. Yeah.
No
Usually
plane,
something.
no body, just gone.
See, and that's eerie because usually you find some kind of wreckage or evidence that something had happened to these guys. But yeah, if you don't find any body or plane, it's just like, well, what happened to them? It's very, very suspicious indeed.
Now, the next disappearance, or actually, do you want to go over theories that we have for what could happen in Flight 19? Like, what do you think could have happened?
I don't know, man. I know I'm the boringer of the two of us, but I mean, even with me, I'm just like, hey, if you're not having any kind of physical evidence, I that's where I start to get into my conspiracy theory side. I'm just like, okay, something more supernatural is going on.
Yeah, that was where I was like, if these planes just disappeared, 5 planes just disappeared, and they can't find them, that's where it gets like a little creepy for me. Like that's where it like really kind of gets to you, because it's like, I mean, they just disappeared without a trace.
For sure. And the thing is, these aren't just like any kind of normal planes. These are U.S. military grade aircraft, and for it to
Hmm.
disappear without a trace, where that the U.S. Navy doesn't even know where they went or what happened to them, something powerful is at work for sure, for sure.
So the next one is the USS Cyclops. Have you ever heard of the USS Cyclops?
I have.
Okay. So as you know, she disappeared March 4th, 1918, and with her was all 306 of her crew. Now, that number means that this is the single largest loss of life in U.S. Navy history not related to combat.
Hmm.
So she was sailing and she was carrying a full load of magnesium ore to Maryland, and she only had one engine working. And that's all we kind of know from what happened to the Cyclops. And again, she just disappeared. No wreck was ever found. No bodies were ever found. Just disappeared.
That's a lot of people. That, if I had to guess, is that probably the largest loss of life that happened in the Bermuda Triangle?
Probably, but like I also said, that's the largest loss of life in any Navy, like any U.S. Navy, in U.S. Navy history that's not related to combat.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's huge. That's a big deal. That's a really
Three,
big.
and that's like the
That's
thing
wow.
too is you would think if the Cyclops had sunk, we would have
Right.
found wreckage.
Is
And
that
here's where some theories come about with the Cyclops, and that's that some people try to say because the Cyclops had two sister ships that also mysteriously sank, but they sank in 1945.
okay?
They sank, and so we have confirmed that there was possibly 3 to 4 German U-boats that were around the U.S. coast in World War One when the Cyclops sank in 1918. However, no German U-boat has come forward and stated that they sank the Cyclops. None of them have said we never came anywhere near the Cyclops. So, World War II German U-boats, that kind of rules it out. If that nobody's claiming this kill.
Yeah, for sure. Usually people want to brag about stuff like that if they did indeed do it, but if nobody's claiming it, then it almost makes you wonder. Well, maybe it wasn't an enemy.
Yeah, and that's where some people have said, some of the theories were it capsized. Some theories were there was structure failure. Some theories say, they got caught in a storm and they sank. But the problem is we have never found the wreckage. And so there's no strong evidence for one theory. We just don't know.
See, and that this is where most of the stuff we talk about in our podcast episodes, I don't believe in, but Bermuda Triangle is actually one of the few things we'll talk about where I do believe there are some supernatural forces at work, because just consistently, story after story, nobody's found, not even the wreckage. Like that is really weird. That is really, really
Yes.
weird stuff. So
Now, this next story is I have one, two, three. I have five disappearances. Out of all five, this is the only one where somebody came back to tell the story.
okay.
Okay. So this is the story of Bruce Gernon. He had a Beechcraft plane and it had like a single engine. Um, and this happened December 4th of 1970. Okay. Not 1945, not 1918, 1970.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So there's normal weather, not a cloud in the sky. Okay. He was planning to take a 1.5 hour flight from the Bahamas to Miami with his dad and a coworker.
Mm. So
So they
okay,
flew and they climbed,
yeah.
pretty normal. So they flew and they climbed to 10,000 feet where they saw BBC, a big black cloud. I had to put that in there.
No, no, no.
Anyways,
That's fair. That's fair. That's
so
yeah. Okay, gotcha.
so they cut through and they came out of the cloud fine. Everything was fine. Okay, they just went through the cloud, came up fine. He climbed 11,000 feet, and once again there was another BBC, big black cloud. Now, when he went through this one, it was so pitch black there was not even sunlight.
Mm.
And as he was flying, he was witnessing blazes of light, but he knew they couldn't be lightning because of the way it was lighting up everything. And it wasn't acting like lightning would. and then he witnessed a black, like he witnessed a small lights marking the exit out of this cloud. And then as he got closer, the exit hole got shorter and shorter, and he got closer and closer. And then his plane's electronics failed. And then
Oh,
something else, the way he states it, felt like something else was flying the plane.
oh,
When
okay.
he got out of the cloud, the plane almost felt weightless for about 5 seconds. And
Huh.
then they regained consciousness because apparently there's claims that they had lost consciousness. They regained consciousness and he started flying the plane. When he started flying the plane, he radioed because, like I said, they were doing their little climb. He contacted radio, air, or was it called flight control in
Right.
the Bahamas because that's where he thought he was, and said, "Where am I? I need to know my location." And they said, "We do not see you on our radar." He
That
was
is
over Miami.
what?
So what was supposed to be an hour and a half flight ended
Yeah.
up only being 45 minutes.
How? How?
And
Okay.
on top of that, you ready for it? I found out through my research that whenever he landed, he actually had like almost the same amount of fuel he had back in the Bahamas. He really didn't lose much fuel.
That is really trippy. Okay.
So the trippy thing about this is this guy never knew anything about the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, he hadn't heard any of the others.
No, because this was 1970, so he really didn't have much like internet to do research. So he never really knew much about the triangle. And so somehow he flew through, and then you remember the time vortex theory. Some
Mm-hmm.
people believe that he entered a wormhole and traveled through time and ended up, obviously on the other side, and had only really been in the time vortex for 45 minutes and ended up doing an hour and a half flight.
Right, for sure. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, he wrote a book about it called Beyond the Bermuda Triangle.
Wait, it was called Beyond the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah.
No way, that's funny.
Yeah. So he wrote
He's foreshadowing our podcast.
Yes. So he wrote that story. And so that, like, out of all the stories I read about the Bermuda Triangle, like Flight 19, USS Cyclops, like those are so scary because they just disappeared. But here's this guy who doesn't know anything about the triangle, flies into this dark cloud, this BBC, comes out, and he only flew for 45 minutes, which and arrived at his destination that should have taken him an hour and a half.
Right.
So a lot of people theorize he possibly flew through a time vortex, some
Sure
sort of
thing.
wormhole.
I mean, yeah, the fuel, the timing, the darkness of whatever he saw, the weightlessness he felt, him not even knowing about the theories, like yeah, all of it seems to definitely match up.
Do you believe the story?
So yeah, the audience might be surprised, but this actually is one of the few things where I'm like, yeah, no, something supernatural was going on, and I'm obviously me and Will are both Christians, but like it's like, hey, whether it's angels or demons or there's some supernatural forces at work, I believe there is something in the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know exactly what it is, but this is going to be one of the very few episodes where I am a believer. Yeah, I don't
Yes.
buy the human error. I don't buy the ships capsizing or any of that stuff. I'm like, no, there's something mystical at work.
Oh yeah. And
This
I think it's so weird because like I said, this story happened in the 1970s. So, and like this guy never heard about the triangle or anything. It just happens, and that's like what's very strange about it. And I'm just like mind blown.
No, yeah, it's well, if you're feeling brave, we get some money from the Patreon. Uh, trip to the Bermuda Triangle where we possibly never come back.
Unfortunately, the wife told me no.
Hey, that's fair. She wants her husband, so
Who's
that's
going to help her raise her little boy? She
yeah,
needs somebody.
for sure.
Um, okay.
Hey, like
So
best case scenario, we crack the case. Worst case scenario, we're
stranded
never
on an alien planet.
we're never heard from again. So stuck on
We're
an alien
stranded
planet.
on Mars, suffocating.
Yeah, no, that would not be the move. We could start a new podcast there, Beyond the Planets.
We can't even get Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
See, we would discover that, and then the next year Elon Musk would be out there laying out fiber optic cables.
Yeah, and then we would actually be famous
Yeah.
because we would have beaten Elon Musk to planet Mars. So
Two idiots went to the triangle and are the first men on Mars. How this happened, we don't know.
that would be the kind of thing that would happen to you and me. It'd
Dude,
be
I'm
funny too because people would be like, cowboy and Indian somehow end up on Mars through the Bermuda Triangle. Like that would be quite the headline. If I was a journalist, I would eat that up.
well, we discovered Mars, you know. It's like the new frontier. And just like the old frontier, I killed Stephen.
Oh, whoa, whoa,
Just
whoa,
had to happen. Cowboys and Indians.
man! Remove the Indian from the land and just
Keep the land.
yeah.
You know, that's not to get off topic, but I think that's so funny about Land O'Lakes butter. You
I
know,
was just about to mention that. Yeah,
they were like, we don't want to be racist. So they removed the Indian but kept the land.
classic.
Way to go, guys. Don't want to be racist, but ends up doing the most racist thing. Okay, so I've got two more stories, and I'm gonna save because like when I wrote this out, technically I'm gonna technically tell you the fifth disappearance, but I'm actually gonna save the fourth one for last because this one is probably the most craziest one.
Gotcha.
So
Lay it
the
on me, bro.
second to last story is about the Ellen Austin.
Okay.
Quick side note about the Ellen Austin. So this happened in 1881. However, upon research, some people are trying to claim that this was from a book. Like there's a book about this that somebody stole the story from. However, upon further inspection, what was that list you told me about last episode that was like for all merchant ships?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't remember it off the top of
It
my
was like
head, but I
Lloyd something.
think every merchant ship since like 1760.
Yeah.
So yeah, crazy amount of time.
So a lot of people can never find out whether or not the story was true. However, that list, I think it's like Lloyd something.
Yeah, I
That
think it's a merchant ships. Let me look it
Yeah,
up.
something like that. See you won't find out the name. So anyway, so a lot of people are like, this story can't be true. It's based off this book. However, upon research and looking at this list, the Ellen Austin is on the list. So the
Okay.
Ellen Austin was a true ship. And I wrote down 1881 because it's when a lot of people think this happened. However, there's a 1901 newspaper that came out that said this happened in the 1890s. So 1881, 1890s, who knows? However, this was so the Ellen Austin was coming to New York from London, and it happened to kind of on the border of the Bermuda Triangle. They found an abandoned vessel and they anchored near it and waited 2 days because they didn't, they don't want to like see this boat, think it's all abandoned, jump on it, and then get raided by pirates,
Right.
Like, that's not a fun day. So they waited 2 days. Then they boarded the ship. And then they found the crew was gone. Like, everything was intact, but the crew was gone.
Just like, was there signs of a struggle, or
Just gone.
They
Just
were
gone.
just gone. Wow, that is odd. See,
So Captain Baker of the Ellen Austin decided that he was going to take this ship and tow it back up to New York with him. So he took some of his prize crew members and stuck them on this abandoned vessel to kind of help guide it when they're sailing back.
right.
2 days into the sailing, a storm hit and the two ships got separated. Days later, he found the ship again, and it was again drifting aimlessly like nobody was captaining it.
Huh.
When they boarded the ship, his crew was gone, disappeared.
See, that is wild stuff. Absolutely wild.
So there's there's two versions of what could have happened.
Okay.
Some say that after his crew disappeared, he tried again, and then that crew disappeared as well, and then he gave up. Some claim that when instead of the crew disappearing, the ship just sank. Kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
So that's the Ellen Austin story. We don't know what happened afterwards. We just know that they found the ship. It was abandoned. The crew just disappeared. He stuck his own crew on the ship, had them sail it back, and then they disappeared. And that's it.
See, it's just story after story of just weird, odd things happening, and I'm just like, hey, I'm always one to say extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Well, hey, we're getting extraordinary evidence. I mean, nobody's finding these people, nobody's finding these ships. It's just like story after story after story. So, by the way, I looked up that ship. Lloyd's. It's called Lloyd's Register of Ships.
Okay. So yeah,
So,
that's the Ellen Austin is on that list. That's why people know that the Ellen Austin did exist.
okay. So,
And then there was a newspaper in 1901 that came out that backed up their claims.
got a
So
bit more credibility than the orangutan. So,
I know, right? Okay, so before I give us our last ship, which this last one I think is the like most terrifying to me, just because of how it all happens.
okay.
Before I get to this, though, I have one honorable mention. So when I was doing my research, guess what ship they said possibly passed through the Bermuda Triangle?
Which ship is it?
We covered this ship,
Oh, we did.
the Mary Celeste.
Really? Oh,
Some
okay.
people say that she possibly passed through the triangle.
Throwback to one of our most watched episodes.
No. So that's our honorable mention. I didn't write anything really down because we already have a lot of theories about the Mary Celeste.
That's right.
And we have a whole episode on that. But this is just the possibility that they could have passed through the triangle, and that could have been behind the crew's disappearance.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool connection there. We love
Yeah.
referencing old episodes. So
Now we're on to the last disappearance I've written down. And this one is a doozy.
okay.
This one might keep you up at night.
Oh well, we're recording this at almost 1 a.m. So
I know.
yeah. So
This
hopefully
involves a 23-foot luxury yacht called the Witchcraft.
that is quite the thing to name a ship.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So these two gentlemen decided on December 2nd, 1967, that they were going to view the Christmas lights of Miami on their yacht, on one of the guys' yachts. They sailed 1 mile offshore. So they're not even like, they're not like 22 miles offshore. They're not 50 miles offshore. They're 1 mile from shore. Captain Dan Barrick had radioed in the Coast Guard saying that he thought his ship had hit something, like one of his propellers had hit something. Now, when he made this call, he did not sound very worried because he had learned from the Titanic's mistake, and his ship was practically unsinkable because of a flotation device built into the hull. On top of that, the ship also had plenty of stuff like life vests, a life raft, flares, anything in case of emergency. So he makes the call, tells him something happened to his propeller. He probably hit something. He needs the Coast Guard to come out and tow him. The Coast Guard takes him 19 minutes to get to his location.
Wow.
When they get there, there was no sign of any ship.
In that, okay, tell me how much time was it again?
19 minutes.
In 19 minutes, it disappeared that quickly.
Like that. And I'm fixing to get to the crazy part.
Freaky. That is so freaky. Oh my goodness.
And like I said, okay, the ship had life vests, life preserver, like, a life raft. It had flares. If the ship had sunk, we would have known about it. As well, the ship was designed to not really sink due to the flotation device in the hull. And again, like if there's a boat on the water and then, if a boat drives away, you get those waves.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing. No sign of any ship had even been there.
See, that's the kind of thing that makes my skin crawl. Like just the goosebumps, the hair on end. Like where did it go? That is freaky stuff.
And I'm going to make it even freakier for you, Stephen.
Oh boy, here we go.
For the next few days after this happened, the Coast Guard searched 100 square miles of ocean and never found a single thing. No wreck, no bodies, no ship. It's just gone.
See, I'm telling you, there's the consistency. Like they're just not finding anything, and that's, as much as I might believe that time vortex or aliens are fantastical. I'm just like, hey, there's some supernatural force at work. I don't know if I'm going to say it's aliens or time vortex, but I certainly do believe in angels and demons, and I'm just like, there's some weird, freaky stuff going on in the Bermuda Triangle.
I mean, what makes the witchcraft to me so scary is it's not like it's out in open water, you know?
Yeah.
It's a mile offshore, disappears, no sign, shouldn't have been able to even sink. And even if it did, they had precautions to help them if they did, and it's gone. And they search 100 square miles of ocean, nothing.
And I just think even like the speed of it, I mean, 19 minutes is not a long amount of time for that entire ship just to disappear like that. That's weird. That is really weird.
What makes it even more weird is like, if this was, you know, 1800s or early 1900s, I could understand if the ship sank and they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
This was 1967.
Wow. I mean, all
1967.
the devices and gadgets and stuff we had in 1967, they still couldn't find it.
We were going to space.
We were, yeah. That was just 2 years away from well,
If you believe it.
I know we covered the moon landing, whether it happened or not, but yeah, I mean, it was just 2 years away from that. So, like, wow.
It's just, yeah. So there you go. Those are some of the stories of the Bermuda Triangle. You can, do your own research because there are some on there. Like there are some more recent boat incidences that have happened. However, wreckages were found, and a lot of it was just like possibly was lost in a hurricane.
Well, hey, I can understand why your wife would not want us venturing out over there. So,
Yeah, because we could end up like the witchcraft and just completely vanish without a trace.
and nobody will ever know what happened to us. So,
Oh.
you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, I don't even know if I want to go to the Bermuda Triangle either. So, maybe that'll be one we pass on. So,
Who knows? Well, the good thing about the triangle is it seems to be at random. As I said earlier, cruise ships still kind of do pass through the triangle, and some airplanes maybe. So it doesn't seem. Now we haven't had any like recent events with the triangle. Most of it, like I did say, were hurricanes and everything.
I,
So
yeah, I haven't heard much about it since like the early 2000s. So I figured stuff had
there
been on the decrease with it, but
there was a case recently, and I'll do this honorable mention. There was a case recently where these two boys went missing in the triangle. They were in like a dinghy or something, and the boat washed up on the island of Bermuda, but their bodies were never found.
oh, so to this day, their bodies have not been found.
Nope.
Oh, that is freaky. Okay.
And that was like a couple years ago.
I guess weird stuff still is happening over there. So,
Well, hopefully Haley can get some funny clips for us. I mean, this was a very spooky episode.
we had a few zingers in here, you know.
Oh yeah, BBC's and Steven admitting that he believes in the triangle.
Oh yeah, I know that doesn't happen most episodes, but yeah, this is one of the few where I'm a believer. So,
Hey, hey, listen, you know what? I'll take Steven admitting he's a believer anytime, man. Like whether it's the triangle or Bigfoot. You know what? If Steven believes, I call that a job well done.
there you go. Are we gonna do a Bigfoot episode?
I'm debating on it.
Okay.
The only reason why I'm debating on it is just because it's it's one of those topics that, you could come out.
Very much covered, but
Yeah, and it's one of those that I think has been, and we ever cover Bigfoot, we'll talk about that, but like I think it's very much one of those that could be heavily debunked. I think there is some cause to believe in Bigfoot, maybe, but I think vast majority of the stuff that we have seen evidence wise, it's fake.
see, and if Will thinks something is probably fake, then yeah, it probably is. Because
I think like the old,
he's more
like
likely.
like that very very old grainy like camera footage that you remember of seeing Bigfoot walking through the
Oh yeah,
forest. I think they've come out and stated that was fake.
yeah, that one's pretty much been debunked.
Yeah. So it's like figuring out what, like, and that's the problem. I think the problem with doing a Bigfoot episode is the time I would have to take to sift through every single piece of evidence. And then,
And pretty much like 99% of it has already been debunked already.
yeah. And then I got to find that 1%, like at least 2 or 3 stories of people actually seeing Bigfoot,
Yeah,
you know? Um, so next week, it's our 6-month episode.
that long.
And we're going to try to do a live stream on TikTok. We're gonna do it on Instagram. I wanted to try to get us on TikTok because that'd probably be better for us, but
Yeah,
it's we're trying.
got a week to see if we can get to 1,000 followers.
Yeah, we only need like 600 more.
Yeah, but hey, if you're watching this and you're on TikTok, maybe give us a follow. So
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Don't go into the triangle. Follow us at Beyond Campfire on Twitter and on Instagram. Follow us on our TikTok at Beyond the Campfire. I think it's Beyond the Campfire. I think it is. Yeah. And
okay.
then you can watch us on YouTube at Beyond the Campfire Podcast. And then you can listen to us Beyond the Campfire on any platform you get podcast, Amazon Music, Castbox, Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can find us anywhere. So thank you guys for listening. And yeah, we'll catch you guys later. And y'all have a good weekend. Don't party too hard. Don't get drunk and wander in the triangle, okay? Bye, y'all.